Market experts, the ones on TV, the ones with the bold year-end price targets, are right about 47% of the time. Worse than a coin flip. That's not a cheap shot. Someone collected 6,500 public stock market forecasts from 68 well-known experts, graded every one. And the average accuracy came out to 47%. So here's the uncomfortable question this whole series has been building toward. If the professionals can't predict the market, why are you trying to? Here's the answer, up front. You stop predicting, and you start building a system. The best investors aren't better fortune tellers. They're better engineers. They don't bet on knowing where the market goes next. They build a process that wins whether they guessed right or not. That's the entire game. And it's the eighth and final pillar of the investing system we've spent this series assembling, iteration. The engine that makes the whole thing improve. Let me show you why predictions fail so reliably, why boring systems quietly win, and how the feedback loop is the part everyone skips. Start with why forecasting is a losing sport. The market isn't a clock you can wind and predict. It's a complex adaptive system, millions of people reacting to each other in real time. You can't forecast that the way you forecast a sunrise. The track record proves it. Wall Street strategists have missed their year-end S&P 500 targets in 13 of the last 16 years, off by about 10% on average. In 2022, the consensus called for a small gain. The market fell 19%, a 23-point miss. And here's the tell. Their forecasts all cluster together, not because they share some insight, but because being wrong with the crowd is safe, and being wrong alone gets you fired. The political scientist Philip Tetlock ran this experiment for decades across expert domains and found their predictions barely beat chance and got beaten by simple formulas. Confidence is not accuracy. It never was. Now the part that should change how you invest. The boring system beats the geniuses. The scorecard people at S&P track active fund managers, full-time professionals whose entire job is to outguess the market. Over 20 years, about 92% of them underperformed a simple index. Over 15 years, not a single category of U.S. stock funds had a majority of managers beat the benchmark. Let that land. The forecasters, with the models and the terminals and the teams, lose to a person who buys a broad index and adds to it every month and does nothing clever. The system wins not because it's smart, but because it removes the moment of decision, the exact moment where fear and greed do their damage. So what does a system actually look like? The cleanest model I know didn't come from finance. It came from a 16-year-old. The Mandala chart, a 9x9 grid, 81 boxes, was designed in Japan in 1979, and a high school baseball player named Shohei Ohtani filled one out to plan his career. One goal in the center, 8 pillars around it, and each pillar broken into 8 concrete daily actions, 64 behaviors total. Body, mind, control, even luck, each turned into something he could do on a Tuesday. Notice what he did not write down. He didn't write, become the best player in the world, and hope. He built a system of 64 repeatable actions and let the outcome take care of itself. That's the difference James Clear put into one line. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Or, as Scott Adams said it first, and more bluntly, goals are for losers, systems are for winners. A goal is a single target you either hit or miss. A system is the thing you run every day regardless. Which brings us to the last pillar, the one this finale is named for, iteration. Because a system that never changes isn't a system, it's a superstition. The good ones have a feedback loop built in. Engineers call it plan, do, check, act. The Japanese call it kaizen, continuous improvement. You don't perfect the plan up front. You can't. You're not a forecaster. You ship a rough version, you let it run, you measure it against a benchmark, and every quarter you tighten the one rule that just broke. For an investing system, framed generically, that looks like a target allocation with alerts when something drifts too far, a fixed contribution on a schedule, a rule that new money goes to whatever's underweight, and a review on the calendar. But the review's job is not to predict next quarter. Its job is to upgrade the rule that reality just embarrassed. The market's job isn't to be predicted. Your system's job is to get less wrong over time. Now the honest counterargument, because this series doesn't do cheerleading. Systems still hide predictions. Choosing a stock and bond mix is a quiet bet that risk assets rise over decades. And a bad system, run with perfect discipline, just loses with perfect discipline. That's all true. But here's the defense. A system makes its assumptions explicit, small, and revisable, instead of leaving them as a gut feeling you act on at 3 a.m. And the iteration loop is exactly the mechanism that catches a broken assumption before it compounds for 10 years. Discipline beats brilliance, but only when the discipline is actually audited. So here's the one thing to remember. Stop trying to be right about the market. 47% says you won't be, and neither will the experts. Build the system instead, then improve the system. A forecast is a guess you make once. A system is a machine you run forever, and a good one quietly fixes itself. That closes the series. 8 pillars: the skeleton, the eyes, the shield, the ears, the intelligence network, the weapon, the heart, and tonight, the evolution engine that keeps all 7 honest. If you're new here, start at episode 1 and watch them as one system, not 8 videos. A new working theory every night at 7. And tell me in the comments, what's one rule in your own system you've actually changed after it failed you? That's the pillar most people never build. Not financial advice. These are illustrative frameworks for education only. This video was made with the help of AI.